Hey guys, the Snowman here, back with a different kind of video today. It's going to be a lot more casual, just kind of freestyle, off-the-cuff thoughts for right now. I wanted to get a rant off my chest involving the FIFA World Cup. FIFA announcing this week 6 hosts for the 2030 World Cup. That includes Spain, Portugal, and Morocco. And then we also have Uruguay, Paraguay, Argentina. They're all going to host one opening game to celebrate the 100-year anniversary of the first World Cup in Uruguay. So this just got me thinking. It got me looking ahead to the 2026 World Cup. And, you know, if we go over here, this is how the qualifying is set up for the 2026 World Cup. It's a huge change in format with the finals going from 32 teams to 48. So every continent or federation gets a certain number of qualifying slots, as you can see here. Again, this is for 2026, and this is going to be the first kind of World Cup of its kind, with US, Mexico, and Canada hosting that World Cup in 3 years' time. But just look at these slots. This is what I want to rant about today. We've got AFC or Asia. They get 8 direct slots and then 1 playoff. So basically 8.5 for Asia, 9.5 for CAF or Africa. We've got, you know, it's a little bit weird for CONCACAF because they have 3 host nations. Again, Canada, Mexico, United States, but they've got 6 plus 2. So I'm fine with that. CONMEBOL or South America, 6 plus 1, 6.5. You know, that makes sense. They're obviously one of the stronger confederations, but you can only have so many teams. I mean, they only have 10 nations as a federation in CONMEBOL, so that's fine with me. 6.5, whatever. OFC, 1.5, UEFA 16, and then 2 intercontinental playoffs. So my main gripe is with the Asia and the Europe. Why? You know, it's 8 for Asia and 16 for UEFA. I have been kind of clamoring about this for years, that we give AFC too many slots compared to UEFA. I think UEFA is a much stronger, much deeper, much more talented pool of teams. So I just kind of wanted to go through quick and, again, just get this off my chest. I know normally I do kind of more explanation or objective videos about soccer, tennis, basketball, whatever, but this one is more of an opinion piece. So let me know if you agree or disagree with my thoughts today. I want to go, though, into UEFA. So if we click into here, again, 16 teams will qualify for 16 teams will qualify for the 2026 World Cup. So if we go to their rankings right here, you know, France number 1. These are your top 16. Poland number 16. All those teams, you know, elite teams, very, very, very good cream of the crop teams. And then look at some of the teams that just based off of rankings that wouldn't be qualifying for the 2026 World Cup. So we got Scotland, Hungary, Wales, Czech Republic, Russia, Turkey, Norway. List goes on, but I have a real issue with, I guess I don't have an issue, but I just think the World Cup would be so much more entertaining, so much better, so much sweeter if you had teams like, you know, like a Hungary, for example. They've got, obviously, the history, the Mighty Magyars of 1954. They've got the prestige, and even just a couple of years ago at Euro 2020, which was played in the summer of 21, they were drawn in the group of death with France, Germany, and Portugal. Didn't bat an eye. They were a late Leon Goretzka game-winning goal away from actually getting through in that group of death. You've got a team like Czech Republic. They made the quarters of those very same Euros. You've got a team like Greece, who, you know, I know it was 20 years ago at this point, but they win Euro 2004. They're a team that has won a massive tournament. And then all the talent, all the star power that we could be missing out on, you know, guys like Lewandowski for Poland, Gareth Bale for Wales, Hakan Çalhanoğlu for Turkey. They've got some creme de la creme players. Norway, Erling Haaland is, you know, probably the best striker in the world the last couple of years for Manchester City. Haaland may never play for Norway in a World Cup. And again, I think it's because it's good that we're expanding from 32 to 48 teams. You know, that's fine. And every federation is going to get more teams because of that. I just don't understand why we didn't fix this issue, because as a fan, I would much rather be watching Erling Haaland play in a World Cup than, you know, the 8th or 9th best Asian team, which I'll get to in a sec. But my point here is, There's a lot of talent, there's a lot of class on display, even outside of the top 15, top 16 European teams. Obviously, nobody's going to argue against France, England, Belgium, Germany, Italy, Portugal, Spain. I mean, these are the best of all time, some of them. But this second tier of European teams, I still feel like there's a lot of meat on the bone that's being left for FIFA. And again, as a fan, I would much rather see teams like Scotland or Czech Republic or, Slovakia. Who could forget Marek Hamšík in the 2010 World Cup in their run? These teams are, that they all have at least some number of world-class players playing in top 5 European leagues. We can't say the same for the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th best teams in Asia. And I know it's a World Cup. We don't want it to be just a display of the top European talent. We want it to be a display of the world. And this is, soccer, football being the beautiful game. It's the most globally popular sport in the world. I get all that. I just think, again, if we go back to our numbers, 8.5 for Asia, 16 for Europe. Ideally, I would like to see this 6 direct slots for Asia, 18 direct slots for Europe. Again, leave a comment. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree with that. I think everything else is fine. Look, Africa, 9. That's great. I'm actually really excited we get 9.5 African teams making the World Cup now starting in 2026, because I think a lot of times there's 2, 3, 4, 5 plus African teams each World Cup that don't make it, that are really entertaining, that have some star players. So that's great. CONCACAF is fine. Again, CONMEBOL, I said 6.5 is kind of the max you can do with them, because they only have 10 teams in their federation. I mean, you don't want 8 or 9 teams making it from South America, just because then it's like, all right, let's just let everyone in except Bolivia, or then that kind of dilutes the qualification process. So that's only why I say it from that aspect. But let's take a look then at AFC, or at the Asian Federation here. So I'm gonna go and let me go look at their rankings right now. And again, I just use this as a loose benchmark. But let's see. Okay, so top 6 teams. This is what I would prefer if it was only 6 compared to 8. So we've got Japan, Iran, South Korea, Australia, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, who obviously just hosted the World Cup last year, made history in doing that. Japan, great. I'm cool with Japan. They've proven time and time again that they are a very formidable, footballing nation. I'm completely fine with that. South Korea, they've had their runs again. They've had some deep runs. 0-2 hosting the World Cup and making it deep in the knockout stage there. Australia, they had their golden generation. Timmy Cahill, they've got some highlights for sure. Iran has developed a very respectable program, very solid defense, and I think they almost got out of the group in the World Cup last winter. So hats off to them. I'm even okay with the likes of Qatar and Saudi Arabia. I think they're kind of on the map now, and especially Saudi Arabia. I mean, that upset win over Argentina in the opener at the World Cup, that was really fun. But then I look at 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, like this next crop of teams in Asia that would kind of line up with the Scotland, Hungary, Wales, Czech Republic, on and on for Europe. I would much rather have these teams as opposed to these teams. I mean, there's no Gareth Bales, there's no Erling Haalands, there's no Hakan Çalhanoglu's, there's no, going back a little further, there's no Tomas Rosicky for Czech Republic, there's no Georgios Karagounis or Robbie Keane for the Republic of Ireland. I mean, has Iraq, UAE, Oman, Uzbekistan, I don't know. I mean, I'm not the biggest international football fan, but I do know a good amount of players and guys who have played in World Cups and big club stars, and none come to mind when I think about Iraq, UAE, Oman, Uzbekistan, China, Jordan, Bahrain. The list goes on and on. I mean, look at these teams. So I pulled out these next 5, 7 through 11, Iraq down to China. Iraq, I mean, you look at their World Cup registry here, their World Cup ledger. They've been to 1 World Cup back in 1986. 3 games played, okay, 0 wins, 0 draws, 3 losses, 1 goal scored. So 1 goal, 0 points, okay? Let's look at UAE. They've, similar story, 1 World Cup back in 1990.
They played 3 games. They lost all 3, scored 2 goals. Okay, Oman, how about them? Never qualified. Uzbekistan, what about them? Never qualified. China. Okay, they played one World Cup back in 2002 when there were 2 Asian hosts, so I'm assuming that, there was more Asian teams in that World Cup than ever before. Zero wins, 0 draws, 3 losses, no goals scored for China. So it's like, we're moving from 32 to 48 teams, and it's gonna be a fun 2026 World Cup. I don't doubt that. I think it's gonna, the vibes are gonna be great in Mexico, U.S., and Canada. I just still, these numbers to me are not ideal. I would like to see UEFA bump to 18. I'd like to see AFC bump to 6 plus the one potential playoff team. Make them earn it a little bit more. I believe that a lot of these nations, just because a country has never performed at a World Cup before, that doesn't mean that they don't have anything to offer on the world stage. I'm not disputing that. I think, especially in the women's game, we've seen a lot of countries kind of thrive in the last 4, 8, 12 years that weren't, mainstream teams at the Women's World Cups in the 90s and the early 2000s. I think of the Netherlands, who won the Euros in 2017, or Spain, who just won the Women's World Cup this year. You can grow programs, but when you're comparing Iraq, UAE, Oman, Uzbekistan, China to these kind of second-rate European teams, I mean, I'd much rather watch these guys any day of the week compared to them. So give me a couple extra UEFAs from AFC, and then I think we're pretty close to the ideal kind of slot allocation. And again, this is just something, I don't know why it's irked me for a while, and I thought that we would finally get it right with moving from 32 to 48, but this is just kind of my thoughts. So I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about this. If you think that FIFA has done a great job with this kind of setup for 2026 and beyond, leave any comments if you have thoughts about the 2030 World Cup too, and how there's going to be 3+3 host nations for that event. But yeah, anything FIFA, anything qualification World Cup wise, hit me up. And thanks a lot for watching. If you enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the Snowman Sports Media for more soccer and football content. Cheers.